Hello, and welcome back to the podcast of Still. This chat is one that I've been wanting to have for quite some time. Jeremy, hello, and welcome to the show, sir.
Oh, thanks for having me, Luke. It's nice to
This
be here.
is, yeah, it's going to be fun. The first time that we met was many a moon ago at a Shazam event in London
Yep.
at Park Row. That is now sadly no longer there, but we have memories. Yeah, Park Row's gone, Jeremy, man.
Oh, that's
It
the
is.
first I'm hearing of that.
Oh,
What
I'm
happened?
sorry to drop that bombshell. I'm not too sure. There's still some news coming out, but yeah, it was a DC inspired restaurant in London, which we had some fantastic nights, myself and some of the DC crew. But more importantly, it needs a blue plaque outside there, Jeremy, because it's the first time
Yeah.
I met you, sir. We were sat
No
together
worries.
almost by kismet, and I saw that there was a nameplate next to mine, and it said Jeremy from All on the Board. I thought, Jeremy, what is this? All on the Board, and I was putting things together, and it was the first time we met, and it was wonderful. You were just like
Yeah.
me. You were giddy with excitement. It was a great night celebrating release of Shazam, but it was when I first got to meet you, and on this podcast today, we will talk about that. We will talk about you, and we will talk about all about movies, which is why we're here mainly. That fantastic form of escapism that brings us so much joy. So, Jeremy, for the listeners and the watchers out there, please share your origin story with them, please.
My origin story. It's not as exciting as Superman. I didn't, come from outer space and bring all my powers and morals to the world as such. No, I'm born here. Um, and I work on London Underground with a colleague who he's not here with us today, but he's working, I think, actually,
Oh well, he
called
can
Ian
return for a
Redpath.
later podcast. We'll get you back on
Yeah,
with Ian on a later show.
exactly. And yeah, we both work on London Underground, and we got talking, and we discovered that we both love pop culture, movies, music, art, comics, everything like that. And while we were just kind of like coming up with creative ideas for various things, we had this idea to write poetry on the information boards that you see in stations for a bunch of people going out to a Craig David concert, the O2. And they seemed to love it. So we just kept on doing that, and it kind of grew into this big thing where we were putting in stuff about invisible illnesses that people haven't heard of, our own mental health. If someone well known would pass away, we'd write a kind of homage to them, or write kind of things to celebrate anniversaries for movies and things like that. So just anything that came to mind, really. Some humor, some magic tricks. At one point, we were doing that as well. And from that, and that was in 2017. From that, we kind of gained this huge social media following, and next thing we know, we're getting invited to premieres for movies and dinners at the oh god, I forgot the name already. Park Row,
Park Row, yes.
um, and meeting lovely people like yourself, Luke, and yeah, and here we are now doing occasionally podcasts, and we've written two books.
Yes.
We're writing a third one right now,
Really? Look at that.
so we're all over the place trying to get that put together. Um, and who knows? Maybe we'll try and do a podcast ourselves. Maybe one day. I don't know.
Oh,
We'll see how that
I
goes.
mean
So
that could work. I mean, it's we get these fun, interesting moments where we get to meet the people that run these accounts. Sometimes you get accounts that are faceless, and it's just sort of a company that runs a page. But I think most of especially the DC family in the UK, we all put our faces out there. But to meet you guys, I mean, you were anonymous for a while. I know you had those masks that you had on your
that's right. I
posts.
forgot to mention that.
Yeah, but then
Yeah,
you stepped out in the world, and the world got to see your lovely faces. But for me, it was great to find out more about you two, to learn more about your personalities, and the fact that you are always such a great face to see at these events. You've both got so much charm, and just it's electric. Sometimes when we are lucky to be invited to red carpet events and premieres, we're not really allowed to say too much about it. So we don't know who's going to be there. But there's always a little bit of me that think, well, I hope so and so's here. I hope Paul, or I hope Tasman, or I hope
yeah.
Kibbs is there, and I hope the All on the Board boys are there as well, because it's we get together, and it's just you're the first group that like, right, before anything, we need to get it in. We need some cuddles. We need some
Yeah,
selfies. We need to just
yeah,
regroup and have fun. And I love what you
yeah.
bring to that.
I'm the same. I'm the same, man. Every time these things come up, I'm thinking like, are you guys going? I hope you are. And can you even make it? I mean, there's been a few where you guys have gone, and I couldn't make it. Like
Mm.
when you met, oh gosh,
Oh yeah, that was just
uh,
we saw the Reeve family, didn't we?
well, yeah, and I couldn't make it,
I know.
and that's a horrible one to miss, you know. But unfortunately, because the way we work on the underground, we have rosters and all this kind of stuff, and you can ask for to swap a day, and they'll say yes or no, and unfortunately, it's quite strict
I
in
mean,
all kinds of ways.
it's a lot
And
like life. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this isn't a full time job for us. This is some of it
but
is for
it's
you, but all on the
yeah,
board. It's a project of passion.
yeah, it's interesting you say because the thing is, all these premieres and these meet and greets and things like that, they tend to happen kind of in the evening time, which me and Ian, we only work at night. We're a little bit like Batman in that sense. We really kind of go out at night and do our thing. Even though it's a roster and it goes all over the place, we work at night. So that's good for us because we're not morning people. Like I struggle in the morning. I really don't get up early at all. Even if I'm up, I'm still very much asleep. So when they have these things, like it's always when we're working, so you have to kind of get the whole day off or just can't make it. But when we have been lucky enough to be able to go to them, they're always great, and it's always great to see you. I think the last thing that I saw, yeah, would it have been Joker?
It was, yeah, it was Joker. Yeah,
It's been a while,
it has.
but
But
we've got a huge one this year coming up.
is it?
A
What's
huge
coming out?
one.
I've not heard anything. What's been happening on? No,
And I think someone stuck a little giveaway on your hat there.
there's a few clues around me. Yes, yes,
It
the
might be
year of
might be that
Superman,
one.
as they are saying it. It's a fantastic year, and we should talk a bit about that on the show. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm always excited for new Superman content and new Superman movies and merchandise. So it's going to be an expensive year for me, but I am ready for it. But yeah, all on the board. It has been a huge part of your life and a huge part of just people that are commuting on the trains each day. They want to see your signs and they're excited to spot them. I saw my first one last year when I went to see the Foo Fighters, and I was like,
That's right.
I
Yeah.
think I sent you a message saying, Jeremy,
Yeah.
where is it exactly? I need to go and find it. I need to. It's like a pilgrimage for me.
It was a different station, right?
It
I
was, yeah,
think
and
you
I was
went
like,
to London
oh,
Stadium and
it was.
and we had it in the yeah.
But no, I'm not. I don't care. I'm going to go and find it. It was a part of
You
the
went for
adventure. I was all over London that day looking for one of your signs, and I'm so glad that I did. I love seeing people post with the selfies, and whether it's a poem or an anniversary or it's someone's birthday. It's nice to see those posts on the underground, and your penmanship is fantastic. Now, which part is that? Both you and Ian that do that, or does one person take it on?
you know what? It's a bizarre thing. There is a video. There's a video of us doing a coronation board for the king.
Okay.
And it's a video like we just sped up that Transport for London filmed us doing it. And you can see us both writing it. And if you see the board, you can actually see like our handwriting is pretty much the same.
That helps.
I
That
don't know
helps.
how that happened. It's just bizarre. We're not related or anything like that. It just happened to be the way we haven't like. I mean, there is a slight difference. You would notice a slight difference.
Yeah.
There is a couple of earlier boards where we did take it in turns because when you get to the lower part of the board, that's when your back starts to give in. So you kind of have to
Yeah.
swap around. So Ian, I know Ian's a little bit older than me. I'll
Okay.
just put that straight.
You're the
He
baby
doesn't
of the
like to
group. That's
mention
fine.
that,
That's
but
it.
I'm here and he's
You're
not
the
here,
yes
so
there.
I can.
That's fine. You can say that.
Yeah,
He can come back on the next one and fight for his honor there. But today it's
yeah,
your
there you
time.
go.
It's
Exactly.
your
So
time
I
to
know he
shine
will,
today.
but he likes to do the higher part of the board. Then I'll do the lower part of the board because the back
You
goes
know.
when you get older. I'm already
Yeah.
feeling it to be honest as well. So I don't know who's going to do the lower part as we get older.
But I
But
do like. I would like to see that sort of you fighting for space on there, trying to get that, trying to get the right amount of words in as well. There must be a lot of proofreading that goes into that, and sort of a lot of
well,
planning.
you know what? There's been a couple of boards in the past, really big epic poems where we have written it all the way down, and then we realize, oh, I think we missed a line because your
Oh,
eyes play tricks on you while you're
yeah,
going through the words, and you miss an entire line, and you're like, oh, can it just go without it? And you're just trying to force yourself to say yes, just just no one will notice.
Yes,
And then
but
no,
yeah, they're gonna
wipe it all off and
notice.
start again.
But you,
It's
yeah,
not so bad if the line that you miss is at the bottom, but if it's right at the top,
yeah, you're
it's
going to
happened.
notice
Yeah,
that, and that's the thing. I mean, you're going to get all of your followers like pointing out one little error, but the thing is, if you put one out there and you know there's an error, that's the voice
yeah,
you're going to hear most loudly in your head. I
forever.
knew I should have gone back and changed it. I knew I should have changed it, but there we go.
Yeah,
So
you
a
know what?
lot of
There's a board that we did, and we all every time now it was Katy Perry had a concert at the O2. This is going back quite early on,
okay.
and we wrote a board, and she had 2 days, and the second day she went like with incognito with sunglasses, a cap on, everything like that, on the tube, just so she could get a selfie with the board that we had done. And she went through the station during the afternoon on the way to her own concert and took a selfie in front of this board. And we weren't working, so we didn't know. We would have noticed her, but
Of
we weren't
course.
working, so the people who were working there didn't notice. And we saw it on her social media. And the title on the board, we had really not done Katy Perry in the best way possible. I mean, the K starts big, and then somehow, as you get to the end of the name, the letters got smaller. I'm not even sure how that happened, but we may have run out of time at the time when we were writing it up. And every single time now that we do a board that we don't have time to make a title really nice
Mm.
or add a silhouette drawing or something like that to it, we just say, oh, we just Katy Perry it. We just have to write up the title really quickly and just hope that this isn't the one that, someone else, some huge megastar takes a selfie with again, So we're always dreading that we let that one, the one that got away,
The one that got
basically.
away, that's it. The Katy Perry
Yeah.
moment. She has become even more immortalized now with that whiteboard of the underground. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. What's been one of your favorite ones over the years? I know that's picking a favorite child, but I mean, there must be some that stand out as
We've
real.
never, you know what? We've never been able to answer that because of that reason. It's like, and there's too many. Like I always, when I try to answer that question later on, I remember another one that I should have said. One, but there is one, and it was for a condition called endometriosis. I don't know if you've ever heard of this
I
condition.
have,
It's
yes.
one of the most painful conditions that exists.
Mm.
And we had never heard of it before. And with a name like endometriosis, you kind of think, okay, I can see why no one's ever heard of it, because it's bit tricky to pronounce. It's long. It almost looks like it's plant-based or something like that, or something completely unrelated to the most painful one of the most painful conditions that exists. And it's not something that we have.
Mm.
But when we read about it, we were just like, wow, we got to write something about this one. And that was when you're talking about proofreading, that was one we had to really research really carefully, because you don't want to get something like that wrong at
No.
all, because it's so important to a lot of people, and it is an awareness thing. You're trying to raise awareness for something that's very much invisible but is incredibly painful. So we did a lot of research on that, worked really hard on it, and I'm really proud of that one because of the fact that so many messages that came through from after that they were really touched by it, they were really moved by it, and they shared it so much to make other people feel the same way as well. It was something, it was one of those moments when you realize, gosh, there are so many conditions out there that people just have no idea about. Um, and I think that was a real big turning point. We were already doing lots of these kind of
Mm.
poems before that, but that point there was like where we really realized just how big the impact can be to a lot of people very quickly if you just simply make them realize that they're not alone,
And I,
and I think that's a key thing about what we do. And with All on the Board is like there's these kind of three messages that always kind of come up. One is to love yourself. Another one is to treat others with kindness, and the third one is to know that you're not alone. And to me, like if the world, if every single person on this planet kind of had those three things going through them with the way they treat each other and themselves, and realize that we're kind of all in this together to a degree, I think we probably wouldn't have as many wars and things going on. We probably treat each other in general better in our communities, and um, so we try to write basically with that in mind with whatever we do, even when we're writing the comedy stuff or anything like that. And I think generally that's because that's the way me and Ian are.
mm.
So we don't have to work hard at thinking that way when we're writing something. You just are that way, so you just do it. And that's why, like you were saying earlier on, a passion project comes from who you are. So if you're not that, it's not going to last really. And we've been doing it now since 2017. What's that? nearly 8 years. It'll
Nearly
be
a
eight
year.
years
Wow.
next month.
Look at
I
that.
think it is. Yeah, I think our birthday's the end of March or something like that. Birthday, yeah, birthday of All on the
That's
Board
it.
is the
Well,
name. Yeah.
I'm excited to see where that goes in the future. And that is part of it. It's you sharing that, somebody walking through the subway or the underground one day that sees something that hits them or they learn something new. It's not just about, oh, this station's closed today or make sure you get here in time. It's remember, get through today. This is what happened on this
Yeah.
day. Film's coming out, nice poem and an anniversary. It's a wonderful piece. And just yesterday, you shared a post about tinnitus. Now,
Yes.
I am aware of that condition. My dad played in a band for many many years, so he suffered from it, and I didn't know much about it. I'm aware of it now because of your post. And then I saw your story about how you dealt with it with your new loops.
You've got some of those as well,
I
haven't you?
did. My girlfriend got me some for Christmas. I work in a noisy environment as well, not as noisy as the underground, but sometimes I need to drown out the outside noise because I've got too many voices inside my head. Most of them are my own, telling me what things I've
Mm.
got to do
Yeah.
and what I'm late for. But the loops have really helped, and you shared that on your page yesterday as well. And it's about that. It's about putting those things out there. It's not necessarily jumping online and saying these are all the things that are wrong with the world. Woe is all of us. You give answers and you give help and you give advice, which is a fantastic thing about your page. So much false information can easily be shared on Facebook, Instagram, or X. People will just see something and post it, and that leads to all sorts of problems. That's why I appreciate the fact that you put in so much research to your posts with that perfect penmanship. Those two combined and yours and the Ian's humor, it's a winning combination. So I can't see where you end up in years to come. Now, we'll blend into the world of movies. You've both been to a few movie red carpet events as the fantastic Ant and Dec of the London Underground. What's been some of your favorite red carpet moments, Jeremy?
Oh gosh, you know what? Barbie premiere.
That was
Because I got to take my daughter.
mm,
Um, which is just like, it's a crazy thing. Like I've got two kids, and I and my other half, and I wanted to be able to at least take them all to one premiere. I took all of them to the Super Pets, which wasn't a
yes,
premiere. It was like they did a special screening thing where they took out the whole Leicester Square and put there was giant characters walking around. There was games, and they even gave away the toys, the soft toys, and everything. And then of course we watched the movie. That was one we did together. But I wanted to just take my daughter to like a red carpet thing, which obviously was a pink carpet in that case.
yes.
I took my son um, to as well. We went to Paddington in Peru and Sonic 3, and I can't quite decide which one. Maybe the Paddington one. I really liked what they did with the Paddington one. It was quite beautiful how they did that one. But the effort that they put into these things is massive, And I always try to thank those involved behind the scenes because people don't see that. They see
They
all the
don't.
stars turning up. They see, they hear about the movie and they hear all the music and they see the results of it. But you don't ever see the people who were stressing about getting it all right up to that moment and then seeing it through. And while we're kind of enjoying it to a degree, those people are sweating in those moments for sure. So it's always nice to try and find them and spend a little bit of time speaking to them. And I think Gladiator 2 was a really good one for that. I got to meet a few people involved with that premiere because obviously that was the royal premiere
Mm.
with King Charles there, and that was a nice one. Oh, they're all great, aren't they? The
But
ones where like Joker. I love Joker because you were all there. That was a great one as well. And the Flash when we all met at the Flash thing and we had the
yes,
after party.
yeah.
Um, I mean, come on, I had the Batmobile there. Oh,
Yeah,
I
that was a
can't,
surprise to see. Just we turned around that big graffiti tunnel, and yeah, just the
Yes.
Batmobile around the
It was
corner.
almost a perfect setting because
It
of all the
was.
graffiti and all. It's like downtown Gotham. It's really dingy here. I mean, it's perfect for it.
They chose a
But
good
how
location.
how it stayed there unstolen, I mean, I'm
Uh,
still amazed. I mean,
There,
obviously that the technology, Batman's technology, anti-theft technology works.
it was working. We got to see that. I think Paul from DC World. We left. I think we were kicked out because we didn't want to go home. we saw that Batmobile being loaded onto a carrier as it was being sent home, and there were a lot
Right.
of people sort of 1 o'clock in the morning, a bit worse for wear, getting very confused seeing a Batmobile being loaded onto a trailer. I was like, what is that really happening? I was
Is
like,
that real? Yeah.
it's the fun thing about London. You never know what you're going to see next around
Well,
each
that's the
corner.
thing as well, because you're very much like it might well be real. There might actually be a Batman around here right now, because it's London. Everything happens here.
It is, and
Um,
if you go to Leicester Square and look up, you will see Batman. I'm still
oh
waiting.
yes, of
I'm
course, on
still
top of the
waiting for
Odeon.
a Superman statue to rock up there. They've got Wonder Woman, they've got Batman, they've got Paddington. It needs a little bit of Superman in that square
Yeah. Oh,
somehow.
which one got there first? Was it Batman or Wonder Woman?
I
Or
think
did it
it
win
was
at the same
Wonder
time?
Woman coming because she's sort of launching herself off the
Coming out of the
wall,
wall.
and then they put
Yeah.
Batman up the top. I still love Paddington and Mr. Bean and Mary Poppins though in there. That's still
Yeah. Although Paddington seems out of place. I mean, he's already at Paddington. Paddington.
yes. So he's getting more screen time. Bit of a diva there,
Yeah.
I think, Jeremy. That's what that is. So let's talk about movies a bit. I've wanted to talk with you about movies for so long because you are so passionate about them. I love your reviews that you leave after you see a premiere, after we've seen these films. We're not allowed to say too much, so we have to squeeze all of our words into one post sometimes, which isn't easy. But then going back, I'm able to read your fuller reviews along with Ian's input as well. But you've both got so much passion for that. And that, I'm guessing, is why you started All About Movies.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ian was saying, "Oh, I should start. We should start have individual pages as well." And his reason for that is because Take That, the band, Take
Mm.
That, they've all got individual pages as well as the Take That page. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have the time for all that. But I already had a Twitter page, an X page, that I generally just used and posted things on anyway. So all I did was just change the name on that, to be honest, to All About Movies, because all on the board, all about movies. I just thought, it makes sense.
Yes.
Um, and since we were getting all these invites, it just felt like, oh, I want to give something back to cinema in a bigger way, because with all on the board, we're kind of, you're kind of expected to a degree to say something about where you've been and all that. But there's not really the space there to kind of write a review or things like that. The Instagram and all that doesn't quite work the same way. So I just thought, well, you know what? I'll just spread it onto another account and do all about movies, which is specifically all about movies. And I'll just put anything up there. Although it's more about TV today, because not right now, but last night there was this kind of big, not really an announcement, but kind of an announcement that they're rebooting Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, I was a
Yes.
huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, absolutely huge, obsessed all the way through. And I'm petrified, but also excited. So, in the same way that you have that kind of feeling about a new Superman,
Mm,
the complete change and all that, you're going to have that. But this is like 20 plus years,
yeah.
So, all about movies, also TV, pop culture, all of that. It's all anything that makes me smile. I put it,
That's it. I mean, yeah, because you're not busy enough already. Let's throw some more projects out there for you. But Buffy, it's got a huge fandom. I mean, it's coming back in many different forms. They've done comics, they've done TV, so now they're going to bring that back with books. But yeah, it's a big universe. I'm aware of it. There's lots more out there for me to learn, which I love. I know Neil from Get Your Comic On is a huge fan of
Yeah,
Buffy, so
he's a
he was
huge fan of
really
it. Yeah.
excited about the news. My girlfriend's a huge Buffy fan. It's it's a part of that world where we want to learn more about. I was speaking with the guest yesterday on the posts, and he was a Buffy fan, and he was talking about things about it, and I was like, okay, maybe I should dip my toe into yet another universe and learn more about that. We are truly spoilt for choice when it comes to entertainment, which is what I love about Superman. There's still loads out there that I don't know, but when it comes to other TV shows as well, and like with your posts, it shines a light on other things that people may not have known about, certain films or TV shows, and that just gives way to more enjoyment, more happiness, more escapism, and I think that's a wonderful part of the
But you
world.
know what? It's going to sound negative when I first say this, but go with it, and it might make sense. I still haven't quite got the words out to make this description, but the world, planet Earth, is kind of like a prison, essentially, because we're we're forced to remain here to a degree. We can't leave planet Earth without massive resources, and very select few people can even begin to imagine actually leaving the planet as such. And even if we do, we're limited as to where we can go at this point in time. So it is kind of like a prison, and that's where the negativity ends, because throughout, if you consider certainly in our solar system and look around, this prison has everything. It has the most ridiculously beautiful lands, and sea, and mountains, and sky, and birds, and bees, and everything, and people, and it's all wonderful, but we do have a tendency to kind of mess it up. So I like, that I look at heroism as anybody who's trying to make this space, this place that where we are, better in some way, even in the smallest way. Even if it's just a fandom page. Some people just is the wrong word. A fandom page that just escalates and develops and enlarges the fandom in a positive way, and all the things that you talk about. And I'm talking about you here, because you put all that positivity towards Superman out there. You share that, and there are other people who will watch this and watch your work and look at your work and get so much more happiness from their love for Superman as a result of that, which only makes that better. So if you were to squeeze this planet down into a room and say, you're in this prison here, you are actually making that room so much better for that person. And to me, like, you're a hero if you can, make the world better in some small way. And sometimes all anybody out there needs is for somebody else to say, I love Superman too. And that's it. Now they know they're not alone. And now there's someone else who shares their views on Superman, or comics, or movies, or music, or whatever. And because we're all technically stuck here together. And I just think we need to take care of the planet better. We need to take care of ourselves better, each other better, the animals around us better, and just make this the best prison there is, like that any other aliens out there like Superman might want to come to. Because at the end of the day, that's what his dad saw. He says, I saw this planet Earth. It looks pretty good. Let's just send him there.
let's send him
to
that one.
Mars.
That one looks all right. Yeah, no.
That one looks all right,
Love that.
So yeah.
Perfectly put. Perfectly put. So when you do eventually retire from London Underground, run for mayor, Jeremy. Yeah. Run for mayor.
That.
You got my vote already. Don't know if I can vote, being not from London, but beautiful words of wisdom. I'm getting flashbacks to Superman Quest for Peace when he's speaking to the UN there. I'm loving that. Fantastic. So it's a good part of that film. It's got its moments, but that was a fantastic part. So,
yeah, it definitely has its moments. Yeah.
Right.
I actually, weird enough, when I was back in 89, was it 89?
Late 80s. Late 80s, yeah.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that Superman film. This is the thing. I know it hasn't aged, and neither has Superman 3. But they have aged. Sorry, aged well.
Yes.
But actually, I've recently been watching back a lot of films from that era. Ghostbusters. I just watched Gremlins again for the first time in about 20 years.
It's dark, isn't it?
Night.
It's so dark.
It's dark, right? The mum in the kitchen, she goes at that gremlin, and I'm like, I was watching this when I was about 10 or something. How is that? No wonder I'm a bit, that's why I'm probably into Batman. And Joker,
that's what it is. That's the dark side of the Gremlins that's brought it out of you.
Yeah. But some of them, there's something I wish movies would get back to that length, that 1 hour, 45 minutes, where it doesn't mess around with trying to be this almost hyper realism thing. It just doesn't care about pacing. It just goes straight in and just lets the adventure go. And I think there's a really good space for films like that. If we can just get back to accepting films like that again. But yeah, Superman 4, it has those moments like that as well, where it just goes with it. Just goes with it. It's bonkers. Some of the stuff going on in there is bonkers. But like you said, that scene where he's talking, he has a big message to say, and it is a Superman message. and it's an important message. And all these decades later, it might be an even more important message now than
Yeah.
back then.
I've
You know.
shared quite a few of Christopher Reeve's interviews before, and quotes that he's said as Superman, and it could be said today. They are so relevant. He was such a wise man, and yeah, we always need a bit more Christopher Reeve and Superman in my life. There we go. So right, movies. I could talk to you for weeks on end about movies, but I'm going to ask you some of the questions that you probably I've been asked a million times before. So, first one being, what was one of your first memories of having a cinematic experience? So, going to the pictures, as it were.
Um, it would be Santa Claus the movie.
Dudley Moore,
That's the one I was.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Yes.
Santa Claus the movie. Um,
Wow.
Went to the cinema. It was that cinema's no longer there, and that cinema in my head is this huge place that's actually a theater because it was one of those cinemas you kind of walk in and then you've got like a little desk there at the front and then there's these curved stairs that go around the top to a mezzanine and then a huge curtain and you walk into the curtain and then there's the seats in the cinema.
Mm.
That's what it was. um and that was back in Romford. Now it's now I think it's, I don't know what it is now. I think it's flats probably or whatever, unfortunately. But that was back when it was about £1.50 to go to the cinema. So yeah, that was a lovely. I just have that, just the fuzziness of it, the fuzziness of going to the cinema. And that's the thing. Back when I was a kid, if you said to me, "Let's go to the cinema, watch a movie," I didn't even care what movie it was. Let's go to the cinema. I just wanted to get lost in whatever movie it is, and I'm kind of like that now. I'll go and watch pretty much anything, to be honest with you. Um, I'm not even. The thing is, I'm not even like a huge musical fan, but
Okay.
I'll even go rushing out to the musical if that's the only thing that's there to watch, in that moment.
That was one of
Um,
my next questions. So, going back for sort of a first movie experience, what's one of your favorite cinematic musicals? Not necessarily from the theatre, but one that you've seen in the cinema.
um, I keep going over Wicked in my head just because I know it's really recent.
Hmm.
But that I loved that. I went to the premiere for that and I took my daughter to that.
Wow.
And I really, because I didn't think like from Wizard of Oz, my favorite one is the Return to Oz because I like the darker stuff. The Return to
Was it
Oz.
the wheelies, wasn't it? That's
Yeah,
nightmare
and
fuel
and
there
and the
completely.
heads and all that. That's a freaky film. And no one ever talks about that anymore. But
No.
I mean, but horror actually, because we'll probably get into that. Horror is
Yes.
the genre that I'm most tied to as a filmmaker, as an artist, as a
Okay.
person who got into movies. Because I actually wanted to make movies at one point, and I have made a few short films back in the day. I went to film, did film. I got a degree in film and art, but I also went to a kind of a film school in London as well, where I met other filmmakers and we made short movies and music videos and all that stuff before I came to the underground. And I've written a few scripts, and Ian keeps telling me, "Oh, have a look over your scripts and see if any of them are any good to kind of try and get made and so on." Um, and But yeah, at the moment I just haven't found the moment to do that. But yeah, horror is the thing. So Return to Oz was my my Oz space, and Wicked Wicked, when that came out, I just didn't think it was going to be, I didn't think it was going to go down anything down that route. But it has elements of it. It has elements of darkness, it has elements of light, the music, the performances, the sound. Um, Absolutely incredible. Blew me away. I was very surprised by how much it took me in. So that one sticks in my mind. La La Land
Yes.
is another that sticks in my head. When I grew up, my mum always had Sound of Music on. So all the songs from that, every moment in that. Was it Saturday Night Fever? Well, it's
Yes.
not.
Not really
It
music, but
kind of fits in
it's
there.
heavy on
Another
music.
dark one though.
Very
It's another
dark.
dark movie.
People just
Um,
remember the Walking Dance Club scene, and that's it. It's like, no, that's a watch it
the
again.
rest of it,
You'll be quite surprised.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. But
So
yeah, I mean, Halloween. Films that are not musical, but Halloween was a film that really, really hit me. John Carpenter in general kind of became the filmmaker of my mind in terms of
okay.
how I wanted to try and make movies. So the first oddly enough, the first short film that I made was a horror film called The Tricks of Evil, and it was about a struggling screenwriter who
Oh, hello.
one day meets this strange person, just say, in a on a walk in the middle of the night, who tells her a story, and she's inspired by this story to write this screenplay, which leads to this movie being made. It becomes this huge hit, breaks all kinds of records, and a year later, um, it leads to basically hell on earth because the world has become inspired by this story that has infected us to bring upon the end of the world.
Okay.
Which actually is kind of similar to In the Mouth of Madness. I don't know if you ever saw that film. It was a John
Um,
Carpenter film about a book that does the same thing.
it's like, yeah, I'm thinking
Um,
of like sort of all the repercussions that one gets from getting that wish, whether it's that successful movie film or getting the idea for something, like the monkey paw coming down, sort of things like that. It's
well,
re-
that's it.
repercussions. I like
The
that.
repercussions, yeah. And that was my first one. That was my first short film. Um, so yeah, dark
Dark.
stuff. I think I just find that if you can investigate why you are afraid of certain things, it can help you to challenge them. Because if you do it in a creative way, rather than just kind of like, oh, there's something there physically in front of you, and then I'll challenge it now. Yeah, sure, that's great. That works for most people, but for me, um, it's in the head most of the fear and nonsense that needs to be challenged. So I can do that better when writing or creating something. Um, so yeah, horror films help in that way as well. I love horror films because sometimes they take you in places that you hadn't thought about. You
Mm,
know, films like The Thing or
yeah.
other films like Scream. I love the Scream franchise. So
Well, that
Scream
was
movies.
something else that just got released yesterday. Was they're going back making a new Final Destination now.
Yes, yes. Final Destination. I remember the first one that came out talking about cinema outings. I remember the very first one.
I mean,
Um,
they're silly and they're stupidly gory, but I can't not watch them. And I think now every
yeah,
time that I do see a truck on the motorway that has got either big
big
poles on
long.
it or big trees,
Yeah,
I'm thinking, hang on, let's maybe
no,
just switch lanes quick. Yeah, let's
yeah.
let's pull over quick. But they're
Yeah.
fantastic franchises, and they're all getting their time
Well,
to shine again.
it's the cause and effect thing. It's the fact, it's almost like I mean, there's loads of these Instagram accounts. There's a guy who makes these ridiculously elaborate things around his house where, so he doesn't have to get up in the morning. It'll wake him up and make his tea,
Oh,
and
the
it's
old
almost like Wallace and Gromit.
ruled
And
Goldberg device, isn't that? I love those.
yeah,
Like Domino Rally, but a bit more intense.
yeah, and they're really elaborate and crazy, but Final Destination basically does that, but you end up dead at the end of it in a really painful way.
Really
So,
painful way. I don't know if you've seen the one that they released yesterday, but yeah, it's set in a tattooist slash piercing parlor, so you can guess where it's going to go.
oh
It's
gosh.
yeah, it's incredibly gory, but one that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, I think. So we've covered horror, we've covered a bit of a musical slash romance. Favorite sci-fi flick? What you got there, Jeremy?
There's so many, there's sci-fi horror, The Thing, Alien. There's dystopian, Blade Runner,
Wow, yeah.
Interstellar, maybe. Um, Sci-fi, science fiction. What would be the? It's going to be again one of those things where later on I'm going to be like, why didn't I think of that one at the time?
You can give me a
Um,
list later on. Okay, let's go to romance. Let's skip that. We'll go to romance because I've not really heard you talk much about romance on the page. So rather
right,
than
you know what?
musicals, what romantic flicks have you got for me?
I definitely need to put Titanic up there.
Nice.
I mean, there's the cheesiness of it. It is cheesy and everything, but there is something about the pacing of that film that always gets me. Like I know, like if I watch a single clip from the film, like God, that was so cheesy, that bit there. But when you watch the film, the story, the way that it develops over that time, I think we underestimate how good 3 hours could be for a romantic film because
Yeah.
romances sometimes take that long. I mean, working at on the underground, I once saw a romance develop. literally from scratch,
Tell me more. This
on a
this this is
project
this
that I was doing
this is a film right
over
now.
about it was over about 3 months. So basically, I was at the
Okay.
bottom of an escalator at Canary Wharf Station. And Canary Wharf Station, anyone who's ever been there, people queue in straight lines perfectly for each of the doors.
Mm.
It's like it's a whole culture there. And I was at the bottom of this escalator at the same time every single day that I was working because that was the budget. I had to be there to make sure no one stops it and people move out of the way, that kind of thing. Really boring and mundane. But I'm quite observant, so I just tend to people watch a lot, and I look around and see what people are up to. And I saw the same gentleman always standing in the same place, a few people behind this lady. Always have their she had her back to him, and he was always standing. He always seemed to be kind of like fidgeting or kind of like scratching his hair, and always like kind of looking like this and all that. The only one who was really impatient, so I was like really paying attention. I was a bit worried at first, to be quite honest with you, because I'm
Mm.
thinking anyone who's acting a bit out of the ordinary, you know, you've got to be
Yeah.
careful. And then he got closer and closer each time. Like each day, he would get a bit closer. And then one day, he finally tapped her on the shoulder and said hello to her. I don't know what they said to each other, but it went well, basically. And then every time the following days, they were together, kind of coming down the escalator together, chatting away. And in my mind, they went on to have a perfect life together. You know, the project ended, so I didn't get to stand down there anymore to see what happened with them. But
I love
you
that.
know, if
You're
it
there.
was
Yeah. Like,
if you're
yes.
watching this and it was you two guys, you know, this would have been about 5 years ago.
Okay. Let's
I hope you're
find
still
them.
together.
Me too. I can see you there, like half Cupid, half like Truman Show, just there watching all these lives intertwine with each other. They're gonna get
Yeah.
together. They're gonna have a divorce. They're gonna have a fight later on. It's the best place to
But
do
that's
a
the
bit of
thing, see,
people
but
watching.
romance takes time, you know. And I think movies don't give that time sometimes. So there's
Yeah,
some movies you watch, you're like, oh, this is going really well, and then
yeah.
boom, they're together, and then boom, they're not together, and then boom, they're back together again with a chase through an airport at the end.
Always a
Which
chase.
is yeah, it's good in its own way, but you know, um, yeah. And then there's a film called The Terminal with
Mm.
talking about romance. There's a film called The Terminal with Tom Hanks,
Tom Hanks
and
and yes,
and there's a part in the movie. There's just Zoe Saldana and I can't remember who the other character, the actor is, and they and he really likes her, and she works in another part of the airport, and he's like a guy who just transports luggage or whatever, and he asks Tom Hanks's character to try and find out information about her so that he can write romance her that way. And it's like it's a small part of the film, but it just felt really, it gave me a really good feeling, you
it
know,
was
like
a
that.
beautiful little part of that. I think it was Star Trek or something like that. She liked some sort of sci-fi film, and he went off and learned more about it, so they had something more to talk about. It was very
Yes,
much. I
yeah,
liked
she's a
all that
Star
point.
Trek fan. That's right. Yeah, and yeah, it's just you don't always necessarily need like the big romance film. Sometimes there's little stories like that in a film that's not actually a romantic film in that sense.
Mm,
But also cinema in general, I think Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, which came out a couple of years back.
yeah,
What I loved about that film was that it romanticized everything inside the film and cinema in general. And I think we've lost this kind of idea of cinema being romantic, you know, and it's lovely to see a film like that kind of make everything romanticized, you know, everything like he looks out the window of his supersonic jet at the beginning of the movie and looks at the sun, you know, and he's talking to his, you know, his friend who's long gone. And it's done in a romantic way, you know. The lighting is done in a romantic way, the pacing, the way that people talk to each other, even the villainy has a romantic element to how you know you could if you wanted to be a villain, you're like, oh, that'd be a really cool villain to be, you know, that
that's
kind
it.
of thing. But it's not just about being awesome, you know. Cinema isn't just awesome. Sometimes it just has to be romantic as well. And the going to the cinema has to be romantic, and um, the way that the lens looks at everybody and everything in there in a romantic way. Sometimes I find that more romantic than necessarily a romantic story. And it's really nice to see that they done that there. And there's parts of Wicked. There's another film, the parts of Wicked that really touched in on that as well. And I want to see more films being romantic about cinema and about the thing that they're you know presenting basically. I think Superman's going to do that as well. You know, I'm seeing that in the imagery.
Perfect
And I think
segue.
that was one.
Perfect segue, Jeremy. I tell you what, you
Yeah,
saw my face starting to light up.
yeah, you because you know what I think that was something that's been missing from Superman films to a degree. That I remember watching Man of Steel, and there's that whole sequence where he, finally walks out in the cape, and then he's listening to his father, and then he tries to fly, and you've got that great music from Hans Zimmer, but it just seemed to shorten itself. I wanted it to go longer. I wanted that whole. Do you remember like the Christopher Reeve, and they're just flying, above the clouds and then along the sea, and she's talking, and she's kind of talking to us. It's sort of like a meta thing. It's almost like breaking the fourth wall. And
Yeah.
she's all, can he read my
Can
mind
you
and
read
all
my
this kind of
mind?
stuff. And
Yeah.
it's bonkers in a certain way, but it's beautiful bonkers, and it's still one of the best parts of any Superman film for me. I'm like, gosh, yeah, who wouldn't want to just do that?
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to do anything else. Just keep flying
Just
around,
flying around
flying
above the clouds, nothing else.
everywhere,
Bit of moonlight. Yeah. I think that whole
to the
rooftop
point.
scene is
But it's
perfect.
even to the point that you forget that she must be absolutely freezing, right? And as well as the physics don't make sense, because how come
Just,
she's not just like
just like two
literally,
little fingers, he's flying off like
yeah.
that. Just that one bit.
So what? How does it? But as a kid, I didn't care,
No.
and that's the beauty of it. Like films, I think films need to get back to that to a degree of just
Mm.
realizing that we overthink it as an audience. We just need to accept what's there in front of us and just go with that
And
instead of wanting it to be something else.
that
And
is it.
now talking about it now, I could be like, yeah, I'd love it to be romanticized and all this and that. But if it's not, I'm still going to take what it is,
Mm.
as I'm watching it. I'm not going to hope for what they had in Man of Steel. I'm not going to hope what they had in Reeves Superman back in the day, or even Superman Returns, or the comics, or cartoons, or anything like that. I'm going to go with what's there.
And again,
Um,
that's it. It's another new interpretation. It's great for me. I love it. I want 10, 20, 30 years time to be another new Superman for me to be talking about and getting excited about. Everyone, I think every generation is going to get their own version of Superman. It's such an iconic character. But as you said, some of the visuals that we've seen so far from the trailers, we've seen some action and some drama and some sci-fi, but we've seen a, some snippets of romance, and I love that. Anytime Superman has got Lois in his arms and he's flying above the planet, or he's flying the daily planet, not the actual planet. Again, that's more physics getting
yeah,
out of the way.
yeah,
But there's a beautiful scene where they're flying up inside that. It looks like a
yeah.
mall which is actually in Ohio. But yeah, there's going to be some beautiful moments, and I'm
But I just
excited.
get this sense that James Gunn really is romanticizing so much of it. Like even Crypto. I mean, gosh,
Yeah,
like you immediately fall in love
he knows
with
what he's
with
doing.
this dog, just in an instant, and just him, dragging him away. It's romanticized, like because a lot of people would imagine a dog rescuing them in a situation they can't rescue themselves from. They would love that. That's a romantic idea, you know. And even like there he is, with he's obviously getting upset over so many things. That kind of lends itself to the romanticism of, gosh, the power of friendship and loss and all these kind of things as well. I can't wait for it. I can't wait. I think
Yeah,
it's gonna be brilliant.
I can't stop.
I just hope people give it a chance, like any movie. And I say this about any movie. When Madam Web came out last year, and it was completely obliterated by
Yeah,
online toxicity, just give the film a chance. At least watch the film instead of
yeah.
just concluding that it's trash because of a couple of clips that someone showed, or an angle that someone showed, or something like that. Movies are movies. You're meant to watch them from beginning to end and make a decision at the end of it. Um,
And that's it.
but yeah,
I've
I think
always,
people will give it a chance.
I hope so, because that's what I've always wanted from a film. In the past, I've had, still do. I've got a very overactive imagination. So if I see one photograph from a Superman set, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is what's going to happen now, and then this might happen, and then this could happen, and so might appear, and then I'm thinking, well, if that doesn't happen in the film, I might be upset. I've overthought it, or I've overanalyzed it. My goal when I sit down to watch a film or read a book or a comic is I want to be taken on somebody else's journey. I want to be told a story by somebody else. So with this, especially with this new Superman film, it's going to be impossible for me not to watch the trailers that come out. But also, I want to
Yeah.
go in there and just switch off and be taken on a visual and exciting story. And from what we saw from that trailer, so much different locations and characters and villains and monsters. I'm extremely excited for the next few months. It's going to be an absolute whale of a time.
And I'm excited for you guys, you, Tasman, everyone else who's obsessed with Superman or lives this,
Yeah,
love for Superman in a way that the rest of us simply can't quite quantify because that's your thing.
that's it. That
I'm
is
so
it.
excited for you all because you deserve it. You deserve a really good Superman movie that's going to be um, different. It's going to be powerful in how it portrays those differences and what it wants to be, and is made really, really well by a great artist. And that's not saying I'm not, and when I'm saying I'm not digging the previous movies or anything like that. I just want to be clear on that. I find so much to enjoy in all those previous movies. Even Superman Returns, I really, really enjoy Superman Returns.
Again,
So
talking
much
about
about
romance,
that film.
so much romance
Um,
in that one. Some of the
exactly.
visuals
You
in that
see,
one are
that's
just
what I mean.
gorgeous.
And I love Henry Cavill. Going back through that. Yeah, I feel like there was still room, so much more he
Yeah,
could have given as well. Um, but yeah, I just want us, and it's not even just Superman related, but us as a community in general across the planet who watch movies to get back to just watching the movie that's in front of you. As you say, it's somebody else's story, it's someone else's presentation of a story or approach to a story, or it's another artist's piece of work.
mm,
Just go and watch that. Don't bring all of this other stuff on top. And I've said this for many, 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 many years. I think like the only thing that I'm not envious of you is that you have to watch all the trailers. You have to do all that stuff. It's part of your what you
yes,
do. And I have the luxury of not watching any of the stuff that's coming now. I'm already set. I've seen that trailer. I'm
you're
already
good.
like, I'm going to be there, you know. And I don't need to kind of get involved in seeing every other little thing about it. So I will hopefully get to see the film and be, much more blind to what's coming than you will be. But then we can have this discussion afterwards and see how
Please.
the
Oh, I'm
the
ready for that.
experience was different.
I'm
You
ready
know.
for that. I'm ready for that, Jeremy. Oh, I knew this was going to be a fantastic chat just because of that. Oh, I'm sure you're going to be on the podcast again in the future, and with Ian, I would love to. You two together in any room is so much fun. So if I can somehow get you both pinned down to be in the same room at the same time, I would love to hear that from you. Now, my final question: I've learned some more about you as a person through this interview, which I adore as always. I've learned some more about your movies and your passion for life. A question now that I've asked many people in the past, and one that I always love asking people is, Jeremy, what does Superman mean to you?
Oh gosh. You know what? I think it's hope, but then that's an obvious one. Um, yeah, it's an infallible hope, really. He doesn't he won't give up on it, and it's kind of a message that we shouldn't, that we should just keep on keeping on. Just do your best to make the world a better place. And it doesn't matter where you're from. Um, or who you are, he's still going to fight to kind of remind those people that they can be better and everyone else can live happily together. I mean, it's a romantic idea. You can't fault that idea, and if you're someone with that kind of power and you've got a choice to, dictate the world or just try to be there for it. I mean, obviously, he's chosen that second path. He isn't dictating. He isn't forcing. He's there, and he's made the choice to be there for us to help us make the right decision. And it's kind of like Batman in Batman versus Superman. He's like Batman obviously believes this guy's too dangerous because of that reason,
Hmm.
you know. And he's proven that that was a silly fear to have time and time again, and that's just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to get behind, I think.
Perfect. Again, I've said it before. There's not a wrong answer to that question, but each one is beautiful and unique. So I love that. Jeremy, thank you for your time today. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the future. And who knows, maybe on a red, yellow, and blue carpet at the Superman premiere. Who knows? Where can
That
people?
would be something if they actually do that now.
If I put that ahead, if you could make just either one that said just a Superman cape or one that's red, yellow, and blue, I'd be even more happy. Even more happy. Where can people find you online, Jeremy, sir?
Oh, everywhere. Instagram. Oh, if it's all about movies, I'm just on
There we
X
go.
at the moment.
Just on X
But
for
if
now.
it's yeah, for now. But if it's all on the board, you find us on Instagram, Blue Sky. That's a good one to go to now because
Mm,
X is a bit
yes.
Blue Sky. Go Blue Sky. X, Facebook, TikTok. Even we're on TikTok. We don't do any dance videos though. We're not very good at dancing.
Well, work,
Ian
work,
thinks he's good at
work
dancing.
on that as well. Ian's a great dancer. It's fantastic. Natural rhythm there. I've seen his moves, and I'm ready to see
He's
some
a
more.
better dancer than me, to be honest with you. We'll go with that one. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for everything that you do with Ian for the public that use the London Underground and the thousands upon thousands of people that see your posts every day online. Because as you said, you never quite know who needs to hear those words or see those words. So you're doing fantastic work, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate your time today, sir. So thank you very much.
Likewise, yours as well. We need to have a coffee or something like that now.
Please.
Coffee and biscuits somewhere because you're always out in the cafes. I see you with your notebook and all that, and I kind of
Always.
want. I get my notebook out on the side. I don't have a notebook. I got one of these instead. We don't do notes. We do these like.
I've seen those little gadgets. Very impressive.
I've
Oh,
still got
oh, look
Superman
at
on there.
that. That's perfectly
I've
done
still
for
got it on
this.
there.
That's perfectly
I
set.
just
Hold that very still for me. I love that. Brilliant.
it's hard to draw something detailed with multiple colors merging
Yeah, I bet.
on a whiteboard
On a whiteboard,
because the pens don't really help you. But
but
yeah, I'm trying
whiteboards are
to
your
keep
thing.
that until the premiere, but I don't know if it
Oh,
will last.
I hope so. I hope so. Oh, well,
Right.
again, thanks for your time, buddy. We'll speak soon. I will
Good.
bring my coffee and my notebook to London, and you can bring your little mini whiteboard on the go, and we'll have a
Write some
fantastic
notes.
time. Yes, sir.
See what magic
Exactly.
we come up with.
Take care, buddy.
Take care, Luke. Take care.